You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Business news is up next on our program with Comfort Amodu.
Prices of food items across markets in Abuja increased slightly with the Eid-el-Kabir celebration, especially prices of consumables for the festival. Although there are little changes in the prices of tomato, pepper, onions and vegetable oil, other major consumables are stable in price. Expectedly, there is a rush for the purchase of rams across the Federal Capital Territory like other parts of the country, as the animal is required for the festival. Meanwhile, at the close of trade week on 9th of August, market capitalization reduced to 515.16 billion naira from the previous week's 518.49 billion naira, which shows a 0.64% decrease in the capitalization, while the NSI for the week decreased from 721.70 points to 717.05 points at the end of the week's session. And in the market outlook for this week, the National Bureau of Statistics is expected to release the liquefied petroleum gas price, national household kerosene price, watch for July 2019, pension asset and membership data for second quarter 2019, and premium motor spirit petrol price watch for July 2019. MBS will also release the data of consumer price index and inflation report for July 2019 and selected food prices as activities pick up across the country after the 2 days public holiday to mark the Eid-el-Kabir festival.
Thank you indeed, Comfort Amodu, for that business package. Next is newspaper review.
And on this special Salah holiday for you, but while we're at work, Bayo is here as well. Good morning and happy Salah to you.
Thank you. Blessed good morning.
I know your ram did not escape because it was slaughtered.
No.
Good.
It didn't escape.
So are we going
to
start with the ram or do the newspaper review first?
Whichever you want. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, Bayo, you're welcome.
Salah restful time.
Okay, you're welcome, Bayo.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's go to the newspaper review, beginning with a Blueprint newspaper. A Blueprint newspaper. On the right-hand side of that nameplate, we have shipments. Shippers to face sanction over false declaration. It's on page 33. And Sean Ponzi schemes. SEC advises Nigerians. SEC stands for Securities Exchange Commission. All right, now the lead story here, or rather below the nameplate, we have Edo Assembly crisis. Obaseki's X8 drags him to CCB. The details is on page 6. Now, displaced Ebonyi triplets mother seeks help. Page 5 is where you get details of the story. Now, the lead story this morning, Bello to ex-leaders, that's the kicker, don't incite Nigerians against Buhari. With a rider, Lawan, Ganduje, Sanusi, others preach peace, unity at Salah. Details on page 15. All right, now below the photo story on the blue print newspaper, Hajj will no longer be for shopping. That's a Nahakun. Page 16 has that story. Tagging headers, criminals play to destabilize Nigeria. Says Mayor Tiala. It's on page 17. Zulum shelves Eid-el-Kabir presents patrol vans to JTF. It's on page 5. Homosexuality, lesbianism cost Nigeria security problems. It's on page 13. I wonder how that is true. Well, Bayo is here to help us out. Now, gunmen attack Ibadan Varsity, steal students' phones and laptops. It's on page 17.
Let's go to the Punch newspaper. Leading for the Punch newspaper, I'd like to start off with that story. NOGA is acronym for Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees. It is reporting governors stealing local government funds, and this the story credited to the NFIU, which is standing for Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. More details about that on page 2, but there are two riders to that. Don't help governors to siphon funds, union warns members. And also, council chiefs should disobey governors' illegal orders. This comes from the NFIU. As expected, colorful pictures of Salah celebration. It's just in the front page of the Punch newspaper. We have the arrival of the Emir of Daura, Farouk Umar, at the mini Daura in Daura, Katsina State. That's on Sunday. And also we have people at the prayer grounds. That's just to the right-hand corner of the paper. Salah, that's a kicker. Governors, Sultan call for peaceful coexistence. And that's story. It's trending on page 38. Envoy visits Zamfara governor over freed Korean doctor. That's at the foot of the page, but you find the details on page 18. 5 children die in Lagos in Lagos fire incident. There's a rider woman's corpse found in a hotel. Pages 4 and 5 will let you into the details of that story. Gunmen in military uniform abduct Kogi PDP chief. More details about that on page 8. Okay, quickly, before you come in, just beside the nameplate for the Punch, you have the story. TUC gives Wednesday deadline on minimum wage. More details about that on page 19.
Well, let's start with yesterday's Eid al-Kabir that was celebrated in the Islamic world and also in Nigeria here. Rams were slaughtered in emulation of Prophet Ibrahim and Abraham or Abraham, depending upon the trilogy of the faith that you belong. President Muhammadu Buhari, who arrived his nativity in Daura, is also hosting his Guinean brother, President Alpha Conte. The two were at the Daura Eid praying ground. President Conte and Buhari performed the ritual of ram sacrifice. Meanwhile, 62,250 Nigerian pilgrims are among the Hajj pilgrims, about 1.8 million, that also celebrated Eid al-Adha yesterday. At dawn, at sunset, at dawn, they moved to Mina on Friday evening, and on Saturday was Arafat Day. The significance of the Arafat is that it symbolizes 3 significant things in Islamic theology. First, it is believed that it is where Prophet Adam and his wife Eve first met after they were expelled from Garden of Eden. And it is at that point that Prophet Adam begged pardon of God, and God, being a merciful God, forgave him his sins. And that is why Mount Arafat is referred to as the Mount of Mercy. The second significance of Mount Arafat is that it is also the place where the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, gave his last final sermon. And he said, all human beings are equal, and the best among persons are the ones who are highest in piety, that is in the fear of God. And thirdly, significantly, Mount Arafat, where you see pilgrims, Muslims from all over the world gather, is a symbolism of the last day of judgment, when humanity from all class of the world will gather before the Creator for judgment, all united, wearing the same white apparel.
Of your religion.
Yes, irrespective of your religion, irrespective of your class. That is the symbolism. Meanwhile, pilgrims by this morning, since yesterday, have been casting pebbles at the pillars, 3 specific pillars. And again, that is another symbolism of the faith of Abraham, where the 3 pillars represents Abraham, Hagar, and Ishmael himself. Are the 3 instances where Satan was trying to importune them not to obey the vision of sacrificing the son. And so pilgrims exemplify that by casting pebbles, not stones, pebbles about the size of the seed of a Debino seed, you know, the date palm, at just rejecting any importunation of the devil to be sinful. So that is what it is all about. And messages have been going across the nation. President Muhammadu Buhari was in Daura, visited by members of the National Youth Service Corps. President Muhammadu Buhari enjoyed them to exemplify the common values of peace, peaceful coexistence, kindness, and hospitality across the nation. He says that former coppers like me are persons who have actually exemplified peaceful coexistence and unity and diversity of our culture. The president donated 2 bulls, bags of rice, and also cash to members of the corps. So I'm heading for Daura as the earliest, because once a copper, always a copper. The donations were for coppers.
I think the whole nation should just better go there. We're all come members.
Okay, there we are. Meanwhile, leaders across the nation has also used the occasion to appeal for peace. The Sultan Saad Abubakar III said, "Our collective prayers will bring ravaging degree of peace and insecurity to a halt." He also says that Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal of Sokoto also called on Nigerians for unity, and he says it is only unity that could sustain our peace, through which we will have tranquility, and he enjoined all to work hard for it. At Mina, General Abdul Salami Abubakar, former head of state, also urged Nigerians to have optimism that there is hope for this country. He said prayers will help overcome our current challenges. The All Progressive National Leader, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, also urged Nigerians to embrace peace, demonstrate love, eschew hate, and also be tolerant of one another. Governor of Kowa of Delta State also called Nigerians to embrace religious tolerance, peaceful coexistence, and promote peace. So across the nation, everywhere, there was call for peace. And Salah, throughout yesterday, was peaceful across Nigeria.
Yeah, that's a good report there. We have seen the celebration. Well, we still have today and tomorrow to go, which have been declared as public holidays. Now, let's go back to the newspapers that we have. Next is Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust newspaper, below the nameplate, we have stories like Kano government orders district heads to celebrate Daba in their own emirates. That's on page 4. Now, how Buhari Kunde celebrated Salah in Daura. That's on page 8. Gambari advises federal government to tackle factors responsible for conflict. That's on page 4. The lead story this morning on Daily Trust: how 20 people, 80 animals died in Bauchi road accident. That's a sad one there. And of course, the photo story here is about the Daba celebration in Daura. And now below that, we have our people are suffering. That's how MAS says. It's on page 4. Zoning alien to Bayelsa politics, says APC chieftain. You can have details on page 17. Now, South Africa reacts as NANS calls for protest against its businesses in Nigeria. That's on page 5.
Okay, before the editorial, some other stories just above the nameplate for the Punch newspaper. Ganduje stops the district heads from Sanusi's Salah ceremony. That is on page 40. And on page 2 is a story of Senate faults Enang, that's it's Enang now, denies 2.2 billion naira Ruga budget. You find more details on page 2, like I said. Now, police hunt for Wadume, that's as a comb Taraba forest. More details about that on page 12. Okay, Bayo, before you come in, the editorial this morning is looking at safeguarding Nigeria's airports. Of course, so Nigeria, let me read one or two paragraphs there. Nigeria again opened itself negatively to the global community on July 19, 2019, when a foreigner, precisely a Nigerian, was seen crawling out of an aircraft engine that was settling for takeoff. The experience, which caught passengers and their crew by surprise, no doubt added to the myriad of embarrassing and episodic surprises the country has continued to export to the are world.
Okay, quickly, the stories you referred to. First, at IBI, officers of the intelligence response team are in IBI, Taraba State, sequel to the efforts to trace the kidnapper who escaped. It is said a certain person have been arrested, and also they are reacting to speculation that it's possible he has gone across the border. And indications are that the Interpol will be contacted wherever he is so that he will be fished out. Meanwhile, the bodies of the slain policemen and the civilian who died in that shootout have been brought to Abuja. And it is presently, they have not indicated the identity of the civilian because they are waiting to have his full identity notify his family before it is announced. Also, flood alert in Abuja. Residents of Kuje, Kubwa, and other areas, particularly within the banks of Jabi Lake, have been warned to be alert in the sense that there is possibility that flood water could increase. And so people who are in Gwagwa, Karimu, Airport Road, as well as Gwagwalada, have been warned to be on red alert. This is because torrential rain that is coming and is increasing, particularly water at Lower Usman Dam, is likely to spill across the areas I've been indicated. Also nationally, the banks of River Niger and that of Benue, the warning is still there. We have to be very careful. And quickly, University of Ibadan was invaded by armed men and who attacked the postgraduate female hostel. 2 students, postgraduate students who raised alarm, were also injured. The robbers had tied down the security men and attacked the hostel. It's the second attack in that place, and there was also similar attack at University of Ife. Now the editorial is about the incident that happened on July 19th, where a man was found on Azam Air, Port Harcourt bound. And the editorial is saying that the Federal Airports Authority is found of being reactive rather than being preventive. And so they have to be very careful. And the editorial is citing instances. It says that as far back between 2013 and 2014, there were 17 security breaches. And also, you recall, in 2017, the aircraft was landing and they found the compartment opened where thieves were trying to take luggage of it. And they are saying that there have to be serious preventive measures to ensure that our airports are safe.
All right, Bayo, we'd like to thank you for sparing also your time on Salah Day to review our newspapers and Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you very much indeed. And once again, Barakat Salah. But you have to wait for us after the program, right? So that we can, yeah.
Is there RAM available?
No, are you not the man that we are talking about?
We'll see you again tomorrow, Bayo.
All right, you are watching Good Morning Nigeria on a Salah Day, and we'll ask you to remain with us until the end of the package. We'll take a short break now. When we return, of course, move into more detailed conversation on the Salah significance and, of course, how can we achieve coexistence in Nigeria. Stay with us.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
Team huddle.
But we lost.
Don't be tired, guys. This isn't a loss. It's a practice for winning.
Nothing makes a mother prouder than seeing her child growing up. But I know as he learns to lead, he'll face even more dirt, germs, and risk of illness.
That's why in changing seasons, you need strong Dettol protection. Because Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
If you just joined us this morning, the program is Good Morning Nigeria, Africa's largest television network. Now, our focus for discussion is on the Eid al-Kabir celebration and peaceful coexistence. And to set the tone for the conversation, here's correspondent Victor Azu. He went to the street to feel the pulse of Nigerians on the celebration and the need to promote peaceful coexistence. Let's find out what he brought back.
People should key into what God expects us to do, which is to love ourselves, irrespective of what you believe in, what you attach yourself to. We are, first of all, human beings, not a Muslim or a Christian, a Buddhist or a Shintoist. In my own space, I try to do what is right. Then I will pray for other people to do the same thing. When you see what is supposed to be done, put religion aside.
When you have love, you have unity, you have everything around your life. And a season like this, you teach us a lot of good things, how to live with our children, how to live with our friends, also how to live with our families.
We don't need to segregate ourselves. We are all one Nigeria. When one is celebrating, you join him to celebrate, you're happy with him. The Muslim and the Christians, we are all brothers. We laugh together, we play together. I believe there's nothing like we are separating ourselves. So we should celebrate with ourselves.
Ní àkókò yìí, ó dára púpọ̀ because tí a bá wò onígbàgbọ́ àti àwọn Muslim tí a bá lè wà ní ìkan láti fi ọwọ́ sowọ́pọ̀ láti fi mú wa ṣe kan láti tún orílẹ̀-èdè ṣe pẹ̀lú àdúrà pẹ̀lú gbogbo ká máa gba àdúrà sí Ọlọ́run pé kí Nàìjíríà yìí o kí Olúwa kó bá yí padà sí dáadáa.
We need to live as one, and with this season, I think if you look at the park, you see everybody happy. A lot of people are coming. Most of them are not Muslims. Like me, I'm a Christian, but I'm here to celebrate with them. And I believe with this, I think we should bring ourselves together and live as one.
And now with us in the studio to discuss the topic is an Islamic scholar, Dr. Musa Olaofe. Musa Olaofe is not new on this program. He's a regular. Good morning, Musa, and welcome to the program. And also with us is Reverend Father Professor Cornelius Afebu Omonohua. Of course, he's Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Interreligious Council. Father, it's a pleasure to have you this morning on this program.
Good morning. Thank you.
In our Just Network studio, we have two guests. We'd like to welcome first Dr. Khalid Abubakar Aliu, is the Secretary General, Jamaatul Nasr Islam, that's JNI for short, as well as Joseph Lengman, is the Director General, Plateau State Peace Building Agency. Gentlemen, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Yes, indeed. And we'd like to thank you. We didn't get that. I hope the audio is true to Joes.
Yeah, they responded, actually.
Okay, they responded. Okay, now let's begin this conversation, gentlemen. It's wonderful to have you this morning, sparing your holiday to be with us on this particular edition of the program. Well, it's another Salah celebration, and it's an auspicious day when God is celebrated across the globe, especially in the Muslim world. And some Christians like us, they also join in this celebration because whatever good that comes from God is for everyone. Musa Olaofe, give us a background of the Salah celebration as you know it.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين. Allah does his things with easy ways. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam was barren for so many good years. He asked Almighty Allah that, oh Allah, if I die like this without an offspring, people will make jest of me. Why can't you answer me? Even if it was give me in the morning, then and take him away in the evening, or you allow me to make him as a sacrifice, because I just want people to know that I have a child. So by doing that, he said it jokingly, Allah kept on watching. So at the end of the day, Allah answered him by giving him Ismail as a son. So when Ismail grew up to a particular stage, Ibrahim had a dream that he was slaughtering Ismail for sacrifice. So when he woke up, he called Ismail, that my son, Inni ara fil manami anni asbahuka. I saw it in my dream today that I was slaughtering you for sacrifice. Ismail said, Ifal ma tu'maru satajidna inshallah min as-sabirin. Just do what God has ordered you to do. You will find me among the patient ones. There is no need for me to run away. So he attempted doing that. So when he was about to do, Shaitan, that would know that devil or Iblis, came over, that you, the only one you heard, and that's what you want to slaughter again, this should be disastrous. If you do it, you will not get anyone again. And that he now took a stone and said, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. And that was even the beginning of the stoning of the Jamra in Mecca up to today.
Okay.
So that I seek refuge from Allah, cause devil, leave me. So he moved to another side again. Shaitan still appear. He did the same thing up to 3 times. So when he was doing that, then God knew that this man really mean business. He was just not lying or disguising. That if you give me the money, I'm even ready to slaughter, I'm going to sacrifice to do this. And I ordered Elijah Jibril, go and bring a big ram from paradise. Don't allow Ibrahim to slaughter Ismail. Then, so Ismail was moved without even the knowledge of Ibrahim. So when he was about slaughtering, at the end of it all, he opened his eyes. He could see that he was slaughtering animal instead of Ismail. That marks the beginning of Eid al-Kabir we are doing up to today.
That's a beautiful rendition of the story that we have come to know and celebrate as Eid al-Kabir today. Before we bring in Father Professor Omonokwa, let's get to Jos to talk to the clerics there. And we earlier introduced Dr. Khalid Abubakar Aliu. Dr. Aliu, share with us the true test of the Muslim faith as it's exemplified by the Eid al-Kabir festival. Share with us what it is today, as compared to when the prophets actually set out to do that.
Nigeria for this very important program. Well, from the spiritual aspect of it, these epoch events in the Salah celebration and the Eid al-Adha, it marks total surrendering of one's self to God the Almighty over his mandate to his own creatures. One, that life is full of hiccups and that nothing goes smoothly. There are hiccups here and there, and that for us to really take in very important lessons as Muslims in this country and as Christians whom God brought together to live in this country, that we can, for us to really identify and agree that there's plurality in the society and the community. There is the one who shares your own faith and the other who does not also share your own faith. Therefore, the lesson is that all of us are from God, and to God we will return. And in this country, this destiny must be understood, and understood in a better perspective of really friendship, good neighborliness, being all stakeholders in the project of really projecting the image of our own country and making better our own lives in this country. Not to hate one another, not to just feel that it is only me and anything that is not me, then let it go to hell. And I think Nigerians are really, now there is a very important paradigm shift from the bad narrative to the positive narrative in this country, and I think that is the only way that we can have achievable, or we can have the desired development in this country. Let us really let us really throw away hate speeches. Let us throw just whatever clandestine kind of negative attitude in this country. The way it is done elsewhere in the world is different from what is being done in this country. That is why I always used to say that Nigerians are special species of creation. We look like other people, but we are not the same. Let us not overheat the polity. Let us not really elsewhere in the world. You look at the mother of democracy in the world, the United States of America, the opposition party and the ruling party. After election, the settlers come and build our own country together. And I think we can't build Nigeria with hate speeches, with negative attitude, with stereotyping, with blatant lies, with really minds that are not human, but really animalistic. Even animals sometimes share some common things among them, like the lion that does not kill except when it is necessary. And I think it's important that in this worship of sacrifice, you could see in interreligious understanding, in social cohesion, you find that the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims come from one origin, the Abrahamic religion. And you look at in the Bible or in the Torah and the Quran, you find stories being embedded with the story of Abraham, and that is how you find it as the father of prophets and messengers who come really to spread the message of peace through submitting himself to God. This is indeed very important, and I think Nigerians, the leaders and the late must have to really learn to live together the way other citizens in their own countries live together. I think it's very important.
All right, Dr. Khalid Aliyu, thank you indeed for your opening remarks. But in the course of this conversation, we'll be opening other perspectives and try and do a linkage, between religiosity and, of course, living in peace and unity among ourselves. Thank you indeed. We will get back to you as we move on. For now, let's return to Abuja and ask Father Professor Cornelius Omonohua to give us an insight, having listened to the Muslim clerics. You're also the consultant to the Vatican City representing Africa in the Commission for Religious Relations with Muslims. So I believe you have some kind of understanding of the celebration today. So let's share your own perspective.
Well, Abraham originally was from the land of Hor, and the father was Terah. Abraham was commanded by God to leave his fatherland and emigrate, and to move to a land that he would promise, that was promised to him. Then Lot was a nephew of Abraham. In the process, as they were moving, there was conflict between the herdsmen of Lot and Abraham. And in the spirit of dialogue of encounter, dialogue of social engagement, dialogue of life, Abraham told Lot, it is not good for us to quarrel. Look at the land. Choose any part. Just go and settle so that we would all kill one another. And so, Lot chose the fertile side, which eventually today is, choose the side of Sodom and Gomorrah. Eventually, the land of Sodom and Gomorrah becomes very, very, very sinful. They were practicing sodomy, human beings making love to animals. And God was offended, and God decided to wipe out that land. The angels who were going to destroy Sodom encountered Abraham. Abraham didn't know they were angels, and he entertained them. He welcomed them. Then he started bargaining with the angels when the angels told Abraham that they were going to rain down stones on Sodom. And what happened? Abraham started pricing, because of Lot and the family. Supposing there are 50 good people there, with the God who is just. In Islam, they talk about God of mercy and compassion, the name of Allah, most compassionate, most merciful. The same God who is so compassionate, will he go and destroy people? And God said, well, if I see 50 there. At the price, he said, if there is only one person there, God was ready to forgive Sodom and Gomorrah. But something happened. When the angels now got to the house of Lot, The men of Sodom wanted to have sex with the angels. And Abraham said no. Lot said no. I have a daughter. Use my daughter. They said no. And they were going to rape the angels. I'm bringing in this to see the context we are living in Nigeria today of kidnappers who kidnap and rape. So because of that sin, the angel said no. Lord, out of this country, with your family, don't look back. And that was how Sodom was destroyed. Now, Abraham is known to be the father of faith for Christians, for Jews. You know, we have Judaism and for Islam. These are three Abrahamic religions. There are other religions that lay claim to Abraham, but we cannot go in there now because of our context, which is Nigeria. Yeah. So now, in the Bible, you really know that Christianity existed a long time, almost 600 years before the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the Bible, the promised child was Isaac. And Isaac was born. And God said, sacrifice your child. Ishmael was born before Isaac, what doctor called Ismaila. So it was while, Abraham was about to slaughter the son. Remember that journey. Isaac told the father, Abraham, Father, here is a knife. Here is a firewood. But where is the lamb for the sacrifice? And Abraham looked and said, God himself will provide the lamb. And eventually, in the course of slaughtering Isaac, he looked and said, no, stop. That is a lamb. Today, this is why no person, whether you're a Christian or a Muslim, you can slaughter a human being and say, Allahu Akbar. It is very, very un-Islamic. It is not Christian. It is not Judaic. And this is the thing. So God has regard for the human person, what I call human dignity. In Islam, God told the angels to bow to Adam. You get it? Bow to Adam. And what is the meaning of Adam? Adam means humanity. So there is that dignity that God has placed on human being. You know, in Christian religion, the Bible says God created us in his image and likeness. But in Islam, you don't use image. But the Muslims believe too that there is that sacredness in the human person. That is why what is happening today, it is becoming very fashionable today and easier for some people to kill human beings than to kill mosquitoes. Well, let me just round up. So now, in our celebration of Islam, we are celebrating life, the sacrifice of a ram. But in the Christian religion, we eventually hear the Lamb of God that takes away the sins of the world. That's a different topic altogether.
Anyway, you could allude to the fact that you said, look, God himself will provide us a lamb.
A lamb.
So I think that is where it's hinged on. Okay, let's get back to Dr. Olaofe. Reverend Father already pointed out aspects of sacrifice and the sanctity of life. These are lessons from the various faiths. But it will appear as if we've taken just one aspect of the religion and leaving what the faith is standing upon, which is the sanctity to life and the sacrifice everyone needs to pay, or at least to give, at a different point to actually uphold us as a human race. Why are we leaving the lessons behind?
See, if you look at Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he promised that he would do this, and he fulfilled that promise. Fulfillment of that promise is what majority of us are leaving behind. So politically, religiously, economically, socially. So people believe that once you say something jokingly, you can just get away with it, and which is not true. Politicians, for example, will promise heaven and earth. Religious leaders promise heaven and earth. Many things are happening that we don't normally take it back to our Lord that created us. And for us to know that He keep on washing. If you think that it's not washing, we are just joking. He looks at everything we do. He looks at all promises we are making, and He looks at the one we have fulfilled and the one we were deliberately not even fulfilling. So all these things we are leaving behind is creating problems for us. It's causing problems on a daily basis. It's even aggravating a lot of problems here and there that we cannot be able to tackle. Because once you say, if you do this, if you can do me this, I will do you this. If you can give me this, I will appreciate this. Take, for example, somebody that was born without father and a mother, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a higher position that you could never imagine. Then don't forget the past. What has happened to you, why you are nothing, worthy of mentioning. Now, by the time God is giving you the opportunity to rule, or to guide, or to lead, then you have to take back that I remember when I was nothing. Then if I am something now, what can I do to remember the time that I was nothing? So these are the things or the problems we are leaving behind, untackled. We were doing another thing entirely. People talk anyhow. People behave anyhow. People are killing themselves, forgetting that God that created them. And God says one thing, Man qatala mu'minan muta'ammida fajazawhu jahannama. Anybody that kills a believer intentionally, the abode of such people is hellfire. So from there you realize that God does not command anybody to go and kill. God does not say you should go and kidnap. God does not say you should go and corrupt. God does not say you should go and do all sorts of things. A lot of things that we don't fulfill all our promises. Go to America and see. They have their own problems too. We have our own problems too. Because when people are giving out excuses, examples of America, example of UK, this and that, they have their own peculiar problems. Nigeria, as I'm talking, I believe that in the whole world, Nigeria is the best. So the best
because you're from Nigeria?
Yes, the best in thinking, the best in everything, even educationally, we are so sound that everybody knows that God has endowed Nigeria with a lot of good things. But are we fulfilling the promises that we told Allah that if you do this for me, I can be able to do that? So these are the problems we are facing. We left all these things behind, then we are doing another thing entirely. For example, when you look at a political arena, when people are coming to power, they will tell you that electricity, free education, water, salary, no problem. On getting there, they might have forgotten that they promised a lot of people, and they are doing another thing entirely. So let's take it back to Prophet Ibrahim, who promised Allah that if you give me this, then I shall remain grateful forever. And he remained grateful forever. So, and that's why I even said in the Holy Quran that, oh Lord, I sincerely appreciate you for giving me Ismail and Ishaq at this old age. I shall remain grateful for you. So with this prayer, you can see that a lot of good things are happening. Go to Saudi Arabia. All over the world, people are there, they converge. What do? They were appreciating the good work of Almighty Allah that has given to them. But let me tell you, when they should not forget, even when they return back to Nigeria, all those promises they made there, that I will turn over a new leaf, I will not misbehave, I will not drink, I will not smoke, I will not fornicate, I will not take bribe, I will not do anything. They should not forget to fulfill all those promises.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Olaofe. Let's get back to Jos again. We still have Mr. Joseph Lemang, is Director General, Plateau State Peace Building Agency. Now, just yourself and, of course, Dr. Khalid Abubakar Liu there. We need to break this down. Usually people come from the explanation that Dr. Olaofe just gave us now. People come making promises, whether on the altar of faith, whether in the church, in the mosques, people use this medium to actually look out on how to better the lot of the country. But at the end of the day, it will, in fact, there are dissenting voices of where exactly Nigerians' problems are. Is it with the leaders? Is it with the followers? People make use of these altars to pray, to make promises, to teach. But then it will appear as if we're hearing something different and we're practicing something different. Where exactly is this problem for us?
For having us here once again. Let me use this platform to also congratulate the Muslim Ummah in Nigeria and around the world for a very peaceful Salah celebration. Coming back to your question, this is a very, very serious question that I think anybody who has been a keen follower of the political process or our own evolution as a democracy in Nigeria has actually been struggling with. It's an open question, and depending on where you stand or your understanding of what democracy entails. In the context of Nigeria, perhaps because of our plural nature or our heterogeneous nature, it is usually very, very difficult to build a consensus even around issues that are very, very easy. And the problem being that you find scenarios or situations where, even policy issues or political issues are often masked in either ethnic or religious sentiments, and the inability to address social problems dispassionately sometimes has created or worsened our situation as a country, and we've not been able to really benefit, in concrete terms, the idea of what democracy and good governance is all about. Having said that, again, because of the heterogeneous nature of our society, over the years, we've seen, a scenario where people, engage with politics purely in instrumental terms. It's not about service per se. It's not about, serving the vast majority, the interests of the vast majority of the citizens, but it's about elevating, or rather pursuing personal or individual interest. And if it means sometimes using religious or even ethnic, sentiments to negotiate, people are, politicians are bound to do that. And if that is the mode through which people acquire power at any level, definitely something would be fundamentally wrong in the not too distant future, because you would feel bound, perhaps, to do what you like, because it's not basically about that trust and that integrity in terms of, meeting the social and economic needs of your people, but about yourself. And that has been the bane of development, if not the bane of politics in our country. But the good thing is that we are evolving. I mean, the situation wouldn't be the same as it were, for example, in 1999 or some 10 years ago. We are evolving, we are learning through the process, sometimes even in the hard way. Gradually, we are weeding the bad politicians out of the system, those who come to lie, those who have nothing to offer, those who would only use religion as a means of acquiring political power to their own high end, or those who want to use ethnicity to acquire political power to their own high end. I think we are evolving, and the level of consciousness in this country, and thanks to you also, the media, for creating this kind of platform where we engage in this kind of national conversation. It is enlightening and highly educative, because what we were yesterday is not what we are today. And hopefully, from these experiences, we are able to become a better people in the not too distant future. But again, democracy and government is about the people. It is a trust, and both the trust and the trustees are meant for the citizens of the state, regardless of their ethnic, regardless of their religious backgrounds. That is what it means to have a decent nation, where public policies are formulated on the basis of the likelihood of that policy, meeting the needs or transforming the lives of a vast majority of citizens, as opposed to a few. And in this context, I think there is a lot for us to look at very, very closely. How do we, as a matter of factly, build a united nation, a patriotic, citizens with a sense of patriotism who would engage with social issues dispassionately and who would also be morally bound by their religious and ethics or their religious teachings, just like you have said. The promise you've made, you are able to keep it, because if you win an election today and you're going to take the to be sworn into office, usually it's either by the Quran or by the Bible. You're saying you're going to hold true to whatever it is that you are saying, and you're going to be faithful to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Oftentimes we depart from that immediately after that oath-taking. Something is fundamentally wrong, and in addressing that thing that is fundamentally wrong, it requires a certain level of introspection, some kind of a self-examination. Where did we get it wrong? How did we get it wrong? How can we correct it? And I think this is what this kind of conversation is all about. Building the bridge between what we are bound spiritually, the lessons we've learned from the holy books, the Quran and the Bible, because we are indeed a deeply religious nation, and indeed being guided by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to do right unto God, unto man, in a way that is fair, in a way that is equitable, in a way that is indeed just. Because that is what these two religions preach. Mercy, justice, fairness, and equity to all, regardless of what we stand. And I think there are important lessons we can draw from this that would help us in order to, reposition this country on the cusp of change. The change is much needed, of course, looking at some of the social problems and their different ramifications that we see in this country. Until we address these issues, until there is a consensus around these issues, until we isolate, our religious bigotry, sometimes an ethnic bigotry, from the national discourse, we are unable to really transform the very conditions that has created a lot of problems and dysfunction in our system. Not all hope is lost, like I've said earlier on, so long as there are people who are determined to do that.
All right, just along, that's a good analysis, if you ask me, and I'd like to stay with you to expatiate on some of the issues you've raised, because you are bringing us to certain specifics. And of course, you are the Director General of the Plateau State Peace Building Agency. So it's a key agency when you talk about peace creation in Nigeria, especially with Plateau State being one of the flashpoints, when it comes to conflicts of different dimensions. Now, my colleague, Blessing, raised the issue of lessons learned. Remember, we're talking about Ideka Bay, which is a celebration. Now, I want you to give us a sense of the lessons that are not being learned. Being, of course, the Director General of a peace-making agency, you would have had experience, you would have met people, Nigerians, who are directly involved in conflicts. Can we share with you, can you share with us, rather, what are the things you saw on the ground, the lessons that are not being learned from all these from religious preachings and of teachings and what have you, so that we can begin to appreciate what is the problem really. Is it with Nigerians, or is it with the fact that the people who are teaching are not teaching well, or are they teaching and say, look, just listen to me, but don't do as I do? What is your view about this?
I think one of the problems that we have is the inability to face the facts the way they are. We tend to give it different coloration or sometimes even connotations to serve a particular interest. And you would think that over the years, because of our horrific experiences of violence, people should learn lessons about focusing on our shared and common humanity as opposed to our political, ethnic, or even religious differences as the basis for building a stable, a prosperous society. But it's sometimes very difficult for people to come to terms with this reality. Increasingly, in some ways, people rather prefer, to exhibit this religious tendencies, even when it comes to ordinary social issues that affect everybody, than focusing on the substance of the discussion. Transforming the very conditions that engendered a social crisis require, like I've said, mutual understanding and cooperation by all the conflict parties, all of them affected. And after all of us were affected. By looking at our case, for example, on the Plateau, Plateau has gone through a series of internecine violence that span over a decade, and the experience has been quite devastating. It has rolled back, the gains of development for many years. And it's just that upon the assumption of the administration of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Plateau State, that we are trying to, trying a different approach to how we respond to the challenges of peace and security and how we break that conflict trap. That was what led actually to, the establishment of the Plateau State Peace Building Agency by His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Plateau State, Right Honorable Samuel Bakola Long. And the idea is that through this peace building agency, we are able, to coordinate and to galvanize or mobilize conflict parties to sit together, to learn to talk to one another. Because that is a very important, if not a foundational framework for transforming some of the issues that were, underpinning the conflicts that we've had. So the idea is, how do you bring people together, regardless of their ethnic or religious backgrounds, to build a consensus around common issues of conflict? That framework has helped so much in transforming some of the most potentially dangerous conflict situations we've had on the plateau, and it is also giving us a leeway, as a matter of factly, in finding solutions from the bottom, going to the top, as opposed from the top coming to the bottom. Lessons have been learned, no doubt about that. We are coming to terms with the fact that our lives are inextricably tied one to another, regardless of the situation, regardless of the history. There is a need for us to build a social compact on how we can chart a new course, build the kind of society that all of us will be proud of, on the one hand. On the other hand, the idea of ensuring that we educate one another and understand one another and working together as a united people, regardless of our differences, has proven to be a daunting task. I don't want to despair over this because, like I've said earlier on, we are evolving. The security agencies have evolved. All the stakeholders are also evolving. We are learning through our experiences, but there are certain things that we need to face head on. We need to deal with head on. Like, look, there is no any other country that we have. There is no any other state that we have apart from Plateau or Nigeria. There is absolutely no alternative to a united, to a prosperous, to a stable society like people working together. And if we don't embrace this kind of an attitude, a culture, if we don't do that, then it is difficult for us to begin to challenge those negative assumptions, dangerous assumptions, those negative narratives. It's difficult for us to break down the walls of prejudice and barriers. It's difficult for us to build bridges of understanding. We must come to that reality that we have no any other home, and all of us are stakeholders, and all of us must play a significant role in deepening the peace. And deepening the peace requires adjustments and readjustments. It requires building bridges, like I've said. It requires compromise and sacrifice. If we dwell too much on history, sometimes we'll never get to where we are going. Of course, it is good to draw lessons from history, but we cannot reinvent the wheels. The most important thing we can continue to engage with each other is the question of what kind of society do we want to build? How do we want to build a society? What roles can we play in building that society? How do we, foster mutual cooperation regardless of our religious differences? And I'm so happy to hear the clerics talk about the similarity in these, Abrahamic religions, particularly for us here in Nigeria, Christianity and Islam. If there is anything, I think the similarities are much more stronger a denominator for us to focus or to build this nation, as opposed to focusing on the slight differences. I think that is what our heterogeneity is all about. It is also a sense of strength, or even though over time politicians want to use it as a divisive tool. But time has come for us to look inwards and to tell ourselves the honest truth that we have no any other home apart from Nigeria. God has a reason for, creating all of us in this and putting us in this country. One a Christian, one a Muslim, even an atheist. elitist, but we are all bounded by the Constitution to do what is right unto one another as citizens of this country, respecting the differences, respecting the ethnicity, respecting the religion, but above all, doing what is right unto this country in a way that transforms lives and that enhance the socio-economic well-being of our people. I think this is what this conversation is all about. That is what the Plateau Peace Building Agency has been doing, working with ordinary people at the community level to do extraordinary things for peace, for sustainable development, and for human progress.
Thank you very much, Joseph Lehman. I'm sure Peace Building Agency, no doubt, is right there on the plateau doing its own work. Still with you, the Just Network studio, Dr. Khalid Aliu. Different faith, different attitude to what nature has brought to Nigeria should be a great source of concern for us because, of course, you of the JNI, Dr. Laofe here is of Ansaruddin. We have the Reverend Father Professor here, is a Catholic. Of course, different faith, the different attitude, but then we have one common goal, to live in peace. That is not a difficult task to actually ask for and actually watch out for if all we preach on the different altars and pulpits is to go by. But then we all agree there is a problem with Nigeria, or there are problems, myriad of problems with Nigeria. In your own estimation, what has been going on from the different pulpits to the people, and how have the people been able to galvanize such messages to build the nation? That is where we are today. Tell us what is going on.
Very much. And I think, you see, the problem with Nigerians is that we are people of religion, that religious people. I think we want to understand this. And I think there is need for a paradigm shift from being religious people to being people of religion to religious people who really understand the text and do in accordance to the mandate of those texts. Our problems cutting across the different pulpits is that I always maintain this, and I used to say we have the problem of accidental imams and accidental pastors. People who have superficially now assumed the position of leadership in these religious worship places. We have only but freelance religious people who only jump from one place to place. They themselves are not really tutored and understood the real crux of the message. Rather, people who just come to share so-called dreams that are not true, fabricating dreams, fabricating visions. But you could see in the story relating to Prophet Abraham, may the peace and blessings of God be upon him, on the vision he saw. The vision is that of believing in God, surrendering in God, and fulfillment of that promise of surrendering to God. But are we doing the same? You see, today is a preaching of prosperity, that you should make it, that you should do, and so on and so forth. People who have not really studied the rudiments of the religion from the religious institutions have really understood the text the way they are supposed to be understood, until this menace is really taken away of this accidentality, accidental pastors, accidental imams, freelance pastors, and so on and so forth. Then we cannot really get anywhere. I believe, and I want to share with you, that whoever among the Nigerians, either Muslim or Christian, really understand the text of the book he upholds, there will be no problem. And I think this peaceful coexistence is the panacea for whatever sector of development you are thinking about, in the economy, in education, in security, in whatever aspect. You cannot really get it right until you really understand these things. And I think it is a challenge on the religious people themselves, the religious leaders, to lead by example. It is indeed really very important. And there's no need to really belie God and to belie the people and to use the text of the revelation in order to undo people, in order to blindfold people, in order to deceive people. If you look at the way, the manner and ways some of our religious leaders lives much to be really desired until falsehood, lies, fabrications are taken away and the real teaching is brought to bear. And I want to believe, I'm hopeful that this country will change. Change in the sense that the common man on the street is now really understanding and trying to come into terms with the real teachings of the religion. What is the problem? What is the problem? You could see the story from both the Quran and the Bible are almost the same with some differences. Then what is the problem? Then I think accidental politicians leave us alone. Quack politicians, quack religious leaders, freelance politicians, and so on. That is why you could see the difference in politics is about really coming to help advance the cause of man and humanity in the society, not a divisive kind of politics we have today. And I think it's very important. Even the media, both print and electronic, have really, the media has a very germane role to play. And I think when hate speeches are turned away and not being drumbeated, then we can't make it. Of course, in media practice, there's ethics. But unfortunately, the other side of the media, unfortunately, seems to really beat the drums of the war. You look at the pages of the newspaper, tear this country, destroy this country, and so on and so forth. And why do you even call for a revolution in a democracy? Where do you have this? You want to change a government? Come and get it through popular vote. And this is the way it is done anywhere in the world. Dragging us back cannot take us anywhere. And I think until tribal bigots, religious bigots, political bigots really sheath their sword and allow peace to reign. Nigerians want to live in peace. Nigerians really want to live in peace. But we have really very serious infection from this freelance, half-baked, accidental, whatever, imams, pastors, politicians, administrators, and so on and so forth, coupled with the hydra-headed, really scourge of corruption, which really is tearing this country apart. I think it is important to really make life meaningful to Nigerians so that really they can see change. They can see change. And I tell you, when social justice is put in play, when really when justice is there put in place, I tell you, there will be just the issue of kidnapping, robbery, banditry will become once upon a time. I tell you.
All right, Dr. Khalid, we can feel your pulse and, of course, the passion with which you addressed the issue. Well, the problem is multifaceted, we agree. And let's come back to Abuja. Reverend Father Professor Cornelis here. Dr. Khalid raised a good number of pertinent issues bordering on the freelance religious people and accidental imams and pastors and what have you. And that brings us to a very crucial part of this conversation. Now, in Islam, we have different sects. And in Christianity, we have different denominations. And one may rightly ask, how can we achieve ecumenism at a point? Because what Dr. Khalid told us this morning reflects on the fact that we're having wrong perceptions or even proper interpretations of the verses in the Bible and in the Quran? How do the followers understand these texts? Because that will as well guide their behavioral pattern, after listening to a pastor or an imam in a pulpit. So now that brings negative ideologies, negative assumptions, beliefs. If you go to the social media, you will wonder whether we are a nation based on the way people are dressed. And these are individuals from different classes of society, different strata of society. People are addressing national issues with some level of passion and with some level of negativity. Right. Now, Father, how can we conceptualize this and address it properly as a society?
Thank you very much. What is the problem? I was hearing, what is the problem? What is the problem? The first problem is the scriptures themselves. You see, in the Bible, the Old Testament of the Bible, there are a lot of passages that can lead to terrorism. If you just live on the Old Testament, you can go and destroy a whole nation and sack them. And you will quote to me that, after all, the Bible told Saul to go and destroy a whole nation, Amalekites, the Amalek people, and that he should wipe them off. And that same Bible too, in the Old Testament, there are passages that talk about war, the kings. Now, the Christians are lucky. Lucky in the sense that we have the New Testament. At that New Testament, Jesus said, you heard that our ancestors behaved like this. But I say to you, in the Old Testament, they say, an eye for an eye. And I say, you, turn the other cheek. So if you live only by the Old Testament, you may not achieve your vision. That is the vision of peaceful coexistence. But because we have a New Testament, we can now pattern our life according to the life of our Lord Jesus Christ, who is the priest and the victim. The sacrifice of Jesus Christ takes priority over all other sacrifices. Because if you are redeemed only by an animal, then you will behave like an animal. But because we are redeemed by Jesus Christ, we behave like Jesus Christ, who is, for Christians, both God and man. Now, let us come to the Quran, for example. There are a lot of wonderful passages in the Quran, like the Quran chapter 5, for example. It said, if you kill one person, it is as if you have killed a whole nation. And if you save one person, it is as if you have saved a whole nation. Remember that the emigration of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first task he got in Medina was to reconcile the warring tribes in Medina. And that brought about intercultural dialogue. He had experienced the culture of the Meccas that you have to be protected within a community. You get it now? Now, with that, he believed that we can live together. That same Quran that has these wonderful passages has also passages that command, go and kill. Kill in the name of Allah. You get it now? Now, the scriptures have what they call context. Every context of the scripture has context. The context where the prophet was saying, fight those who fight you, was the context of war. We are now, in this present modern era, that context should not exist. And the context under which those surahs were revealed in the Holy Quran have become, for our modern societies, completely anachronistic. But today, the terrorists hinge on the passages of the Quran that say go and kill to cause mayhem in the society.
Then, if there is anything you want to do, you can find it in the scriptures. So what do we need? We need a kind of, like the Muslim youth came to me once and said, Father, come and we want to organize a seminar. I want you to talk. And what did they say? Religious re-education. Apart from analyzing the scriptures in the context of our life today, there is still another problem. You see, many of us, he talks about accidental Christians. All of us, including himself. Some of us, Many of us are Christians not because we grew up to want to become Christians, but we are Christians because we met our parents, Christians, and we want to follow the religion of our parents. And of course, some people are Muslims, not because they become Muslims by conviction, but they become Muslim because they want to please their parents, or they don't want to be declared fatwa, or they don't want fatwa to be declared on them.
So all of us are freelancers.
So we are all accidental in a way. So what is original? The original thing, well, in philosophy, when you talk of accident, we are talking of substance. So that is Aristotelian philosophy. And in philosophy, the substance is the humanity. So as a Catholic priest, what should qualify you to be my friend is not because we are Christian, but because we share the same humanity. That should be the common factor. Now, talk about the second one. I talk about scripture is people talk about ethnicity. You see, there is what they call the anthropological foundation of character building, what I would call anthropological fundament. You know that the external perception back on the cortical section of the brain and by way of a condi rests on the long-term memory store, which Freud calls subconscious mind. So, if you want to build up the character of a child, it has to be a year before, before conception. Because the womb of the woman had to be prepared to receive a baby. Now, when that child is born, as the child is growing up, even the theater of the labor world, the way a child is born can determine its character. So, by this time this child is growing up, and you are telling this child that the Muslim is your enemy, don't talk to a Muslim, throw stones at a church, the Christians are your enemies. This child is through the process of a coding from the short-term memory store to the long-term memory store in a way, it is being formed negatively. I don't know if it is true. Thank God, that doctor, you are here. There was a time in the north when they said it's a proverb. You know it in Hausa language, that the fact that you love your chicken doesn't mean that you should not slaughter it when it is time for festival. What are they telling the children? That, it's not... The concept that if you are not a Muslim, you are not better than a vulture, you are a kafri, you are arni, all these are ways children grow up with this kind of mentality. And sometimes too, because they didn't grow up with the kind of feeling, can imagine a child is in the street, no parenting, he does not see any value in life. For him, it is today that matters. You can kill and go away with it. They don't believe in heaven and all that. So let me round up.
Reverend, we're going to come back. Time is on our side. But I like the academic aspect reporting there in terms of molding a child, training a child while the child grows. The direction the parents give to the child is the direction the child is going to take. We thank you for that. But I think we should have a break at this point. Let's take a short break now. When we come back, more of our friend here will be coming, or Lao Ferrada will be coming in with another aspect of this conversation. Thank you for staying with us up to this moment on Good Morning Nigeria on a Salah day. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
don't come out my hand from oil bunkering.
General, what you gonna yarn? What did the yarn serve? I don't understand though.
Because they spoil our water and our environment. And they cause our people serious harm. Militants is there. You know who? Me! I not do again, Sam. Because why? Change begins with me.
General
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Thank you very much for staying tuned into the program. Good morning, Nigeria. Yes, there are diverse views, just as our faces are different here. But then we have the Muslim cleric here. Some of the things raised, definitely it's a balance that we need to create. We've talked about aspects of what is wrong, accidental imams and pastors, religious re-education, and the most important, being humane in whatever it is we're doing, whatever the scripture you're reading, understanding the text. Dr. Olaufe, you may wish to clear some of the areas raised by the Reverend Professor,
Yes.
as well as where we stand in terms of being humane in achieving peaceful coexistence.
You see, let's go back to Dr. Khalik in Jos. He said something. Accidental imams, he mentioned imams. Accidental imams and pastors.
Yes.
It is not directing a speech to anybody, but he generalizes it.
Yes.
You see, if you don't know anything about religion, don't discuss it. And that is the problem we are having in Nigeria. And if you go back to Quran, God said it, that atamuruna an-nasa bil birri, you'll be commanding people to do good. Watansawna anfusakum, and you are abandoning it. Wa antum tatluna al-kitab, are you not reading the books? Afala takilun. God now says, have you no senses? Now, those who want to discuss about religion, professionalism is very, very important. We have been saying this time without number. If anybody should come out and say, go and kill, ask that person to give you the verses. In the Holy Quran, there's something we call sababun nuzul, reason for revelations. If you go to the Quran, the stories of those who came before you, they were there. The present ones are there. Even the future, those who are yet to come, is already there. So the two books, they are discussing, like what Pastor said, that the two books are a little bit, the scripture itself is a problem. If you look at it, you see, you may not consider what has happened in the past. It's just for you to have the reflection of what is happening. And that's why it gave us sense of reasoning. We should be thinking and think wise. If you go to Quran, God says, invite people into the fold of religion with wisdom. Wal mawhisatul hasana, and good preaching. Good preaching in such a way that Muslims and Christians, let's live together as one family. Let's talk together as one family. Let's live together as if we are born and bred from the same home. And that's how it's supposed to be. So you cannot take your own religion and said, what you are doing, I should be doing it by force. Even the unbelievers, when God addressed them in the Holy Quran, what did he say? The unbelievers are those who are worshiping idols. They don't believe in God. We are not referring unbeliever to those who go and call God. You can't call them unbeliever. But those who worship idols, then God believed that they don't believe in him. He now said, oh prophets, go and tell the unbelievers, you are not worshiping what they are worshiping. And you are not forcing them to worship what you are worshiping. And at the end, what did he say? Lakum dinukum waliyadin. Your religion should be, and let my own religion be. Then from there you can realize that there is no need for arguing, there is no need for quarreling, there is no need for anything. And then when we have educated elites who are Muslims, you will see them the way they talk. It's quite different from the way those who does not even attend secondary school nor university, the way they will approach religion, it will be quite different. Look at when Imam said accidental Imam. Those who read mathematics, for example. You graduated first degree mathematics, master's mathematics, PhD mathematics. Then you now bring microphone and say you want to discuss about religion. Is it algebra you want to discuss or solving a problem?
Mathematical faith.
Yeah, mathematical faith. Then those who are religiously inclined, first degree, religious studies, master's, religious studies, PhD, religious studies. Allow them to talk because they must know what they are talking about. They must know the importance of reality. And they must know the importance of the people they are talking with. And let people see them that they are bringing peace into the world. How can you now say that go and kill? Then you are now killed. And don't forget, God says in the Holy Quran, Man qatala mu'minan muta'ammida. Anybody that faces your fellow human being and kill intentionally, فَجَزَاؤُهُ جَهَنَّمَ. The abode of such people is hellfire. So from there, look at what Pastor said now, that there is in the Quran, that if you raise a woman or a man, you are raising a nation. If you destroy any one of them, you are destroying the world. It is true. Because somebody that is very close to you, you don't know how that person can become useful in the future. How can I just see you and say that because you are not of the same religion, then you should be correlated? Ignorance. Ignorant, deliberate, intentional, because they don't really know what they are really doing. So Nigeria, to be more peaceful, we must tolerate one another. Either we like it or not, Christianity will continue to the end of the world. Either we like it or not, Islam will continue to the end of the world. And then we must be together. My advice is that the people who are in the high rank level of religions, then you have meetings, keep on having your meetings regularly. Not until when the crisis looms, then you now come together, then we have emergency. There should be no emergency meeting in religion. It's something that has to continue continuously. You have to be discussing about how can we bring peace. Then people will tell you, Imam, help us preach peace, so we need peace in Nigeria. Then when you say peace in Nigeria, then those who are supposed to preach peace, then you don't allow them to talk. Anybody who comes out now and criticize government openly, government will say, go and arrest this person. Anybody who criticize government secretly, they say it's abusing the government, you want to destroy the government. And what God says in the Holy Quran, say the truth. Even Prophet says, Qul al-haqqa walau kana murra. Speak the truth, even if it is bitter. Just say that truth. And that's what we did in Nigeria. Majority of us are not trustworthy. We are not trustful. We just do things, and when we do it, say that, well, let's see what will happen. The consequence is not now. Because whatever you do, you will surely get the reward. So religious leaders, they must come together. Both the Muslims and the Christians comes together, because on the day of judgment, God will not ask the followers. They will ask the leaders, do you control religion very well? Do you talk to your people very well? Do you really advise them very well? Do you say this? Do you say that?
All right.
When people go, when we do all this, we'll see that Nigeria will be more better off than this. Religion, God will question every one of us, because it depends on how we present ourselves. If I'm pretending as a Muslim, and then you look at me, this is our imam. If I'm pretending as a Christian, this is our pastors. And what I do, what I preach is quite different from what is in the Bible. God will ask all of us. So the best thing is to be very plain and be God-fearing and have the mind that one day we shall die and leave this world and face Almighty God.
And the accountability will be there. Quickly, let's take a look at the tweets that have come in from our viewer by way of tweets. This one. Well, there is a correction that, the Reverend Father, Professor raised interpretation by that Saboda Kaza, that is on the chicken one, is, incorrect. It said the real interpretation is that even though you're used to your son, it does not mean that he cannot be punished if he makes any mistake.
Okay.
Now to the tweets. As Muslim faithful reflect and celebrate Eid al-Kabir, it is pertinent to stress that for peace to reign, we must put away regionalism, ethnicity, gross nepotism, religious bigotry, and individualism from our system to be able to live as one, irrespective of our diversity.
All right, from Delejak Solomon, he said, as Nigerians, let's use this Salah celebration to imbibe the spirit of goodness, unity, tolerance, and kindness to preach peaceful coexistence amongst Nigerians so that Nigeria can experience development and be great.
Law Alpha C tweets, in the midst of celebrations at the East Stands of Eid al-Kabir, the security agencies and FRSC should be on the to mitigate sorrowful experiences. Happy Salah to the Muslims.
Josiah Salah says that both Christians and Muslims are created by Almighty God, and he knows why we are here together. So don't hate people because of religious beliefs. I wish my brothers and sisters Barka de Salah.
Festus Akimboyewa has this tweet. Happy Eid al-Kabir to all Nigerian Muslims. Every one of us, regardless of our religious beliefs, must respect each other because mutual respect is the meat and bone of peaceful coexistence.
All right, Festus once more. Happy Eid al-Kabir to all Nigerian Muslims, every one of us.
That's just what I read.
Okay, rather, once again, he read one of his messages before. Eid al-Kabir is the celebration of sacrifice for peace and stability. This is an opportunity to call on all those who have been injured and disgruntled to shed their sword for peace to reign in the land.
Another tweet from Dede Jack Solomon. Let's all use these festivities to make quick progress towards the fulfillment of our great potentials as a nation by fostering peace, security, and stability, which are essential for development of the country, by showing greater respect for national safety and public order.
Adekunle Olayemi, all clerics, whether Christian or Muslim, should stop preaching evil among members and stop using foul words during their sermons.
Well, those are the tweets I'll take at the moment. Let's get to just to get the closing remarks from both Dr. Khalid Aliu as well as Mr. Joseph Lemang. First, Dr. Khalid, we must go, but then the need for peaceful coexistence is strong. And that is where you come in. Already every one of you agree that there is the need to have a re-education on the issue of religion and humanity.
I think there is need for re-education, reorientation, brotherhood, and encompassing of one another. It is indeed really very, very important, and I think Nigeria is moving ahead, and I think we will achieve it. And I want to correct that, the Catholic priest, I think being a Hausa-man and from this part of the country, there has never been any anecdote or a proverb who says living with a Christian does not mean you cannot kill him. I have not come across that. I didn't know it. And I think maybe it's misquotation or out of context, I think, which these are impressions that really need to correct. And I think the media in this business has a very, very important role to play. But one thing that is very troublesome is the social media war. The social media war, if not checked, will take us to really places that we don't like elsewhere in the world. I don't think it is just left free. You say what you want and you abuse whoever you want, and nothing will be done to you. In law, I know it is said the rights of a person ends where the rights of another. The right of a person ends where the right of another begins is indeed very important. How do we control the social media from the venom, the poisonous thinking and so on? And I want to caution also, some of our print and electronic media are following suit. Sometimes you don't even differentiate between the story from the just non-censored, not really, not civilized kind of story from the social media. You find it really coming to the electronic and print media. I think we better get this correctly, and you cannot just abuse whoever you want and get away with it. This cannot really happen in an organized society. I think we really need to do that which is correct. Government was really, and I think there are institutions. There is the Federal Ministry for Communication, and there is also information and culture. There is also the interior. There is the orientation agency, and so on and so forth. And I think if we don't control this, then we have problem. You could see elsewhere in the world, the Facebook owner was has really gone through legal suit, and where he was found guilty of allowing hate speeches, stealing of information and so on. And I think until we begin to practice this in this country, we cannot go anywhere. And I wonder where somebody can come and abuse whoever he wants. And if the now security agencies or the government want to check, then it becomes undemocratic. Does democracy says you can abuse anybody at will, the way you want, at the time you want, and nothing will happen to you? I think we really have to correct this. I want to thank NTA for this opportunity, and I barka Salah to you. Good morning, Nigeria, all of you.
Dr. Khalid Abubakar Ali, thank you very much indeed. We were pressed for time, that's why we were trying to pause you at a point for us to get from Joseph Lemong. So give us his closing remarks. So of course, you have established the fact that social media is the menace of social media, should be controlled, or otherwise we'll see ourselves on the other side of life. Joseph Lemong, briefly, please, what's your concluding thoughts?
Once again, like we all know, there is absolutely no alternative to peace. You couldn't have development, the promise of development, without a stable and a peaceful society. Number two, that we are, heterogeneous as a society, we should see it as a source of our strength. We must learn to walk across the divide. We must learn to embrace one another, just like I've said earlier on, based on our shared and common humanity. And I think this conversation also underscores the importance of interfaith kind of a dialogue. It's very, very fundamental. I heard the press is also the secretary of the National Interreligious Council, and I think this is a very important structure that could help to illuminate the darkness in the hearts of men. It could equally be replicated I think it's very important that we think of having this kind of structure spread across the country, so that people from different faiths will continue to talk, not only when there is crisis, yes, but even when in peace times, we should talk to one another with the view to educate, with the view to understand. It's not just a question of tolerance. I'm not very comfortable with that word, religious tolerance. I would rather want to be educated to understand the difference, because when you understand the difference, then the basis for mutual cooperation would have been set. And that is the kind of approach we should be adopting, we should embrace in this country. There is a lot of resentment. There is too much hate in this country, and that hate and resentment and mutual suspicion and distrust to a large extent is undermining genuine efforts at finding durable solutions to some of the problems that plague us as a people and as a nation. And if there is a better way to deal with that, I think interfaith platforms or structures that flows down from the national, down to the state, down to the local governments, down to the district levels, even to the community level, is very, very key here. There are a lot of lessons we can learn also or draw from other people's experience. But above all, we do not have any other home apart from Nigeria. And we have a duty to do what is right unto God, unto man, to bequeath a stable and a peaceful
Director General, Plateau State's Peace Building Agency, Joseph Lemong, thank you very much for your insights on the program, and we appreciate your coming on the program this morning. We'd also like to appreciate Dr. Khalid Abubakar Ali, Secretary General, Jamaatul Nasrul Islam, as JNI. We appreciate your insight as well. Thank you for joining us on the program. Appreciation also to the guests here in the studio, Dr. Musa Olaofe of the Ansaruddin Society of Nigeria. Thank you very much. It was great having you here as well. And appreciation as well to Father Professor Cornelius Afebu Omonokwa. Thank you very much. It was great having you. And, well, we have just little time to go to our sport desk to find out what's happening on the sporting scene.